Hey, Angela, it's me, Rob Messing. I guess you could probably tell it's me by the fact that it says my name that I respond. Anyways, I hope you're doing well. This is my response to your post from this week. Overall, I thought it was fantastic. I could definitely sympathize with how you ended it. I'm going to not talk about that right now, but I loved everything you had to say about wellness and the importance of counselors being well. I took some notes here, kind of highlights of things that I thought that you really did well on. And so without further ado, let's jump on into this bad boy, shall we? So one thing that I love that you talk about is you talk about the importance of self-care. Self-care is like everything for a pastor. Or for anyone, right? But any type of a counselor, they need to make sure that they are doing some sort of self-care. That's why they say that every good psychologist or counselor should have their own counselor, because it's important that they that they're able to get stuff off their chest, that they're able to process things. I've seen so many pastors in my life, and who the church has really elevated into these these perfections of like, oh, these pastors need to be perfect, they can't stress for anything. Oh, I don't know why my hair's being all crazy. Anyways, but these pastors that just have to be perfect, and they cannot sin, they can't take a break, none of that. But like, unfortunately, that's why a lot of these pastors then end up falling into these super deep like sins. A lot of them are really, really grotesque and really unfortunate, and that's because they're not allowed to take a break. They're expected to be perfect, and they don't really aren't able to manage self-care because they can't say no to people because they want to help everyone, which is admirable. But at the same time, you have to be able to take care of yourself first, because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to take care of your buddy. It's kind of like when I was in combat training, you were issued a medical kit, and you were always told never use your medical kit on somebody else. Use their own medical kit on them, because you're going to have to, or somebody's going to have to use yours on yourself, right? So it's the same type of principle. And ultimately, we need to be okay, like raising our hand and saying no to people that demand a lot of us, right? And we need to be okay. It's okay to not be okay. I think there's a Christian song like that. Anyways, also really liked how you quoted McMahon when he said, a distressed counselor is a dangerous counselor. Absolutely, right? So a counselor needs to be in the right mind, or else they're going to give bad advice, they're going to give bad guidance, and then they become numb or callous, which can be very dangerous, because somebody is going to them in their time of need when they're hurting, and instead of getting any type of like advice or anything, they could just get completely brushed off. So in their most vulnerable time, their counselee is going to get just something really not great. And so when a counselor becomes numb and callous, then it's very, very, very dangerous for the counseling. And so the counselor needs to be okay being like, you know what, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to go hike Mount Vesuvius, I'm going to go swim the Mississippi River, I'm going to go do something, I'm going to go write poetry, I'm going to burn incense, and I don't know, do whatever else it takes to get you to calm down and make sure you're right. Because as a counselor, we owe it to our counselees to be as present as we can be. Yeah, and then even thinking back to my own life, I thought about how there was a one time when it was my counselor, because you talk a little bit later about how like giving advice and counselors, and I think counselors, really the best things they should do is let the counselee come to their own conclusions. And that's something I had a counselor do with me one time when I was going through a really hard time, and he helped me. And because I think as you're talking about your husband, saying, "Hey, you need to do this to pass." It's like, ooh, So a good counselor should be encouraging and should tell the person like, "Hey, what do you think you need to do to pass?" Like, oh, and really put the ball in your court, or the counselee's court, right? And that's the best way to support them and to edify them and to grow them up. So I really appreciated your post this week. That last comment you said about to avoid these things, one would not highlight the negative consequences of a situation or event, but focus on the client's inner strengths and capabilities while reassuring them to remain calm and relaxed during that time. I think that's huge. I kind of talked about that a little bit already, but I thought that was a great point. We got to stay calm. So that's about all for me for this week. Great job, Angela. I really enjoyed everything you had to say. We'll see you next week.